All right, so I want to quickly share my findings and conclusions when I, in the last 2 hours, tried to understand why in the courtyard after torture chamber sometimes the enemies attack you, sometimes they don't. Where the latter is, of course, the outcome you want, because moving a box without enemies around way easier than with enemies around. So there are 2 main conclusions I have. The first one is everything's a lie, nothing is real, nothing makes sense. No matter what you do, nothing is consistent. As I said, I've tried 2 hours, all kind of versions of this trick, like with zip, without zip, with skipping the bad cutscene, without skipping the bad cutscene, going fast, going slow, using slow-mo, not using slow-mo, it doesn't matter. For these two attempts notably differ in only one and just one thing, which I'll show you in a second. First thing I want to say is that something about the triggers in here. So there's a load trigger up here on the upper half of this ladder, even before the camera change happens, that loads the courtyard area itself. So when the prince is on this ladder, nothing up there is loaded yet. No enemies, nothing. So what I conclude from that is also what I kind of got from all the attempts I did. Up until here, it doesn't matter what you do. It can only matter after you load the upper area, because only then, for example, the enemies are loaded and can move around and possibly mess up or not. Okay, that's the one conclusion I have here. So there will be, as that, so one notable difference, gameplay-wise, one notable difference in effect, like what will happen. So on the left attempt, I waited way longer on the ladder here. I got here way earlier and I waited way longer. I lined the videos up such that the jump happens on the same frame. See here. Okay, so I'm not saying that waiting longer makes the trick works. That's not the case. I've got plenty successful attempts where I went really, really fast, like as fast as I could, and plenty attempts where I did the same thing but it didn't work. So it's a bit more subtle, or has to be a bit more subtle than that, in my opinion. So right now we're on the ladder. Luckily we can frame advance here in the video. So you see here I press jump 1 frame early, but the animation is the same. That should be a 60 FPS artifact. And there should be like subframe stuff. So you can see, for example, here the prince, he's close to the bar. His arms are kind of behind his back or whatever, and on the next frame, boom, his arms go up. Also the same camera change. Okay, so although the input was less than a frame early on the left side, the effects right up until here are the same. But I don't want to stress that as much as I'm doing here. Can also another difference, but that also shouldn't be a thing. On the right side, I held, like right now, I'm holding nothing on either keyboard, and here I press W. I hold W way earlier than on the left side. So here, on the right side, W is held, on the left side it's not, and now it's on both. As I said, that shouldn't change anything. The movement is actually the exact same. So here on the left side, camera changes a frame earlier, just like on the left side, spacebar was pressed a frame earlier. If we line these things up, which we can do, it's like here, then Prince's animation will differ a bit, but that's the point. So camera change happens at the exact same point. Can actually look at Farah, for example. 1 frame, boom, next frame, she changes animation. Prince climbs up. Can also compare the prince's position. It's like now his, let's wait a bit, okay. Can look at his right foot, so now it still crosses the line on the floor. Now it still does. Now it doesn't anymore. The same gap. So the movement is the exact same. That can't be the thing. Unsurprisingly, because in both attempts, I'm just holding W. Nothing else. The controller is disconnected. There can be no influence from that. Okay, the one notable difference there is, and I'm pretty sure there has to be a connection to that, is something you'll see here on the top. So here on the top right of either video, nothing here. There's just ground, no enemies, nothing. And at some point, should happen around here. Yes, here. So here, nothing. Just as a reminder, the left attempt here, this one is the successful one. Here, the enemies will not attack me. On the right one, they will. Okay, here, boom, enemy spawns, legs coming in, brown guy spawns. Here, nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 frames later, the enemy spawns here. So that's the one notable difference in the attempt. And here, they spawn in. Here, they don't. Another thing that I thought might correlate or might have something to do with it. Up here, on the top of the ladder, as soon as you leave, there's a trigger where Farah yells, "Help me" or something. And if I remember correctly, on some attempts she doesn't say it, but the problem is there's no correlation to a successful or non-successful attempt. Like here in both things, Farah yells, "Help me." You can actually check that yourself. I'll put both attempts in the description, like the full attempt from loading into torture chamber, like even starting from the main menu, loading into torture chamber. In these cases, zipping up, but as I said, that doesn't change anything. And finally going up here. Okay, so yeah, that's the one conclusion, the 4 frames of enemy where he spawns earlier. You can also see that enemy's position is the exact same. So although the left one spawns in a bit early, he seems to wait there. See, yeah, same. Like I might be tripping, but from what I can see, position should be the exact same. But that's kind of hard to tell. Might not be. Either way, that's the only difference. What I think I learned from this attempt are 2 things. First of all, this trick is absolute fucking bullshit. Second of all, what I think that happens, what happens is, as soon as you load this area, the enemies should be loaded as well. I'm not 100% sure, but they should be. And they are already moving around, maybe. And these movements determine when they spawn and also determine their behavior. As I said, the only difference here, I waited way longer on the ladder, so the enemies should have been in a different position. When, like, as soon as they loaded, not as soon as they loaded, as soon as they jumped, and thus there's a different behavior in different pattern in the enemy behavior and a different outcome. That's the only thing that would make sense to me. Problem is, if that were true, finding a consistent setup for this might be rather difficult, because from, like, as I said, I tried to go really fast a lot of times, like jump even way before the prince comes to full stop on the ladder, which usually is really risky. You don't want to do that. But like this seems to be nothing where you have 1 second window or so. If my assumption is correct, then this will be rather hard to manipulate. Aside from a bunch of placebos, of course. Like the thing with the controller and like you climb the second ladder with controller, then you change to keyboard, then you go up, and then the enemies don't spawn. when I made the video, that technique worked 4 times in a row or something. I said, yeah, it's consistent. Fucking bullshit. Nothing is ever consistent in this game, as we all know. There are also a few other placebos I found which worked 3 times and then never again, or just sporadically. So, yeah, I don't know. That's all I learned. Maybe somebody can conclude something from this or find out. Find out what the fuck's going on. Also, I'm leaving this uncut. Can't be bothered. This is an unlisted video, anyways. So, yeah, that's it for me. Really hope this gets figured out eventually. Because moving a box with enemies around, bad. Moving a box without enemies around, good. Who would have thought that?